Hey guys, this is my Gundam Iron Blooded Orphan Gundam Bael. Now if you're a Gunpla builder, you may encounter this one particular problem. If you paint your parts and you separate them and you do all that you can to keep track of them, inevitably you come around to a point where you lose a part. Or you break a part. This is what happened with this build. If you look closely at the right foot, you'll notice it's missing a shin guard or some kind of foot armor piece thing. So today I'm going to set about the process of replacing that part. Fortunately for me, that part that's missing is identical to the part on the left foot. So I should be able to make a copy of the left foot part by making a mold and casting out a resin. So let's get to it. Inspiration for this particular project came from this much older build. This is the high grade Gypsy Avenger from the second Pacific Rim movie. When I built this kit, the very same day I completed it, I broke the right arm. I had paint on the joint pieces, and that created basically like a friction fit that was too great, and it snapped off. See here, the little gray piece, that's actually the replacement part that I casted out of resin. And then I also had to cast this inner chest piece joint socket as well. So both of these are cast out of resin. Here's actually an extra copy I made, so you can see this is almost perfectly identical part. And I was able to, fortunately, cast it from the parts on the left side of the kit. You see these are still painted because they were actually identical to the parts that broke. So sometimes you get lucky. So starting off, I'm going to take the original part and I'm going to hot glue it to the bottom of this cup. This cup is going to serve as my mold box, so when I mix up the liquid silicone, it'll contain it and end up being my mold.
We can shine in a crowd, we never hesitate. Let us rise to the clouds. We got nothing to lose, I know.
Now that the part is glued to the cup or mold box, whichever you choose, it's time to mix up some liquid silicone. The silicone I'm using here is Amazing Mold Rubber from Illuminate. You can pick up this product at any local Hobby Lobby or Michael's craft store. You should be able to find this product or something similar. Now the product is made in two parts. You have the base and then you have the hardener. Right now I'm pouring the rest of the base from a previous kit I bought into the cup. I was hoping it would be enough, but as you'll soon see, it wasn't quite enough, and I had to crack open another kit to complete the project.
We We can shine in a crowd, we never hesitate. Let us rise to the clouds.
Here I am opening a new bottle of base, because the first one wasn't quite enough. This stuff is quite messy, so you should always wear gloves when messing with chemicals like this. You don't want it to build both skin irritation. Give it a little mix, because the stuff does settle. And just add a little more. Now that I have the base mixed out, I'm going to add the rest of the binder from the old kit. Wasn't liking the way this stuff was looking. It looks like I had to separate it. So I'm just going to switch over to the hardener, not binder, sorry. Switch over to the hardener from the new kit.
You make it real, you're the one I want. And to me, we are just like art.
Now that I have the two parts mixed together, I'm just going to stir them together in this cup until I see no swirls. You just want to be a uniform color. This stuff, for the most part, stays white, so it doesn't change pink or anything. So when you stop seeing little streams of pink, you know it's well mixed and it's ready to pour.
You turn dust into gold. You make it.
At this point, I'm simply pouring the silicone over my part. I'm pouring into one part of the cup and letting it flow out onto the part. And I just had enough, barely had enough to completely cover the part. So make sure you mix enough. This stuff I normally let leave overnight to cure before I demold the part.
But baby, when I saw that smile, knew that I'd be just fine. You turned us into gold.
We're now back on the next day. The silicone is completely hardened. Now it's time to demold the mold. I'm just cutting a slit into this cup, and I'm just gonna tear the cup away from the mold.
And I know that, baby, I won. Feel like we own this town. We are never going down. Dancing through me.
Now that I have the mold out of the cup, I go about the process of getting the part out of the mold. I wanted to just pop it out, but I ended up having to cut the part out. Now I'm mixing up some resin. I'm using Alumilite's casting resin. It's white casting resin. It's a 2-part epoxy. You see, I forgot my gloves. I went and cleaned up, and now I'm wearing gloves. Always make sure you wear gloves. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So you mix equal amounts parts A and B into a cup, and then you pour it into your mold. And the bottle says it hardens in about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm just gonna measure some out and pour it in. Right there, I was weighing the part to make sure I had enough. I was going to try to use the scale, and I realized it was too light of a part to trigger the scale, so I'm just going to measure out using the graduated markings on the cup. I love these little graduated cups. They're disposable, like they're medicine cups, and they're perfect for this type of work. For this mix, I use 2.5 milliliters of A to 2.5 milliliters of B for a total of 5 milliliters of resin. It was way more than I needed, but that was the smallest amount I could mix up with this cup. So not too much wasted. And this stuff's similar to the silicone. You want to mix it until you get an even color throughout the mixture. You don't want any swirls. You want to make sure it will mix, and you want to make sure you have equal amounts. If you have too much in one part, it won't cure all the way through, and you'll have a soft and oily part. Now I'm just pouring the resin into the mold, and you can see it's already kind of full. Right now I'm burping the mold, so I'm squeezing it to try to force out any air bubbles that may be caught inside, so that resin can get into all of the areas. And then you let it sit and wait and come back in 20 minutes to demold the part. Now we're back, and you can see the resin has turned white. The should be fully cured, but you can see it's still a little soft. Right now I'm going to risk it and see what kind of casting we got. If it's close enough and it gets distorted, I can always recast it now that I have the mold. But unfortunately, when I pulled this one out, it wasn't an exact copy. It was very thin, and it was an unusable casting. So that means I get to try something else next time. In here, I'm just trying to cut out the part since the mold is too tight for me to like easily pull it out. So disappointing, but it happens when you're doing this work sometimes. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and tune in next time for part 2, where I try alternate molding techniques. Bye.